My name is Will Craig. I'm a co-founder of Signal House. We specialize in business messaging for any company that wants to send traffic from their own proprietary software to a person's handset. We specifically specialize in 10DLC A2P, that's local messaging, where the first three digits of the number correspond to an area code, but we can deliver any kind of traffic for you and your customers. And in today's video, I'm going to be running through 5 things that companies struggle with when setting up their business messaging. So here are the top 5 things that businesses mess up when they are doing business messaging. So the first one we're going to talk about is not understanding throughput. So throughput is measured by how many messages can be sent per day or per minute, depending on the carrier. T-Mobile has a daily limit. That daily limit starts out at 2,000. And if you are using a standard campaign, can go up to 200,000 per day based on what's called a trust score, or a score of how trustworthiness your business is. The higher the score, the higher the likelihood that you won't be sending out spam messages. So if you are a business and you want to send out more than 2,000 messages a day to T-Mobile customers, by the way, they have more than 44% of the US market, then you need a standard campaign and you need to go through standard vetting to increase that score. The top 2 factors that go into what your score is going to be is the age of the business and number of employees. Obviously, as those numbers increase, your score will increase as well. AT&T, on the other hand, does everything per minute. So starting out, you'll get 240 messages per minute on the SMS channel and 120 MMS messages per minute. Now it's going to be for a standard campaign. It's going to be 75 and 50 SMS to MMS on a low volume campaign. So let's say you're on a standard campaign with AT&T. How high can you get that to with standard vetting? Up to 4,500 per minute with AT&T on the SMS channel and 2,400 for the MMS channel. Now, the number one thing I want you to understand when it comes to these 2 carriers is how they measure the throughput. Obviously, there's daily versus per minute, but I mean on what level. So T-Mobile, it's going to be at the brand level, whereas AT&T is the campaign level. So if you have 5 different campaigns, you're going to have the same daily cap on all of them. They're going to share that daily cap. For T-Mobile versus AT&T, each of them is going to have their own per minute throughput based on the campaign itself. So the way that you can think about it is T-Mobile basically just has a spreadsheet with an EIN and the number of messages that are sent. And when it crosses the threshold, it no longer lets you send any more messages out. Number 4 is going to be not crafting messages that are designed to garner a response. Remember, when you're sending traffic out, especially if it's conversational or it's some kind of promotional messaging where you need someone to respond to it, to act on that message, you need to craft a message that is designed to garner a response. This is something that moves the conversation forward and enables a customer to perceive value from the message itself, so they know that if I respond to it, I'm going to get something out of it. If you message someone and say, hey, I have a great deal for you, you are dumb if you don't respond, that's not going to garner a response. That's not really any information. That's going to look like a spam text. It's not something that someone's going to actually want to act on. Whereas if you put a lot of information in the message, not overly verbose, but you have concise information about specifically the value that you're offering, and you have a next step in there, let's schedule a call tomorrow. I have availability this time and this time. Do you? Those are messages that are more likely to garner a response. And same with transactional messages. You want someone to actually look at and perceive what you're sending. Even if you don't necessarily want them to respond, you should at least phrase it in such a way to where it catches their eye and it's something that they are going to actually be looking at and understanding. Remember, the open rate for SMS is over 98%, but you open SMS messages all the time. I open SMS messages that I don't even mentally perceive. And so if you craft that message where it's designed to either catch the eye and deliver information in a concise, understanding, and meaningful way, or drive a response, you're going to get a lot better conversion rates. Okay, so the third one is sending reactivation messages all at once. And there's a reason for this. So reactivation messages are essentially, you have your old customer database, people you've been working with for a large amount of time. They're your past customers. They're people that you want to turn into referral partners for your business. Let's say you have 1,000 of them and you want to send out a message to them and get them into your referral program so they can start sending business your way or to leave a review, whatever the case may be. If you send out that message to all 1,000 people at once, there's a likelihood that a certain number of those people just aren't going to need your services anymore, and they're likely to opt out. It might be someone who, for example, has now an electric car, so they don't need your oil change, or it could be any number of things that you're reaching out to them about where they just simply do not need the service anymore. And if you send them that message, they may opt out, and it's totally fine if they opt out, but you don't want to send any signals to carriers that you have a random spike in opt out. Remember, these carriers are using different types of algorithms to fully understand the type of traffic you're sending, if people are consenting for it, and looking for patterns within that messaging. If you have an opt-out rate of 1%, which is really what it should be, between 0 and 3% is really kind of the gold standard. If you have an opt-out that's between 0 and 1%, and then it randomly jumps to 10% because 10% of the people of your past customer list just aren't going to be using your services moving forward and they didn't want to be in your referral program, that's going to be a clear signal to the carriers that there's something going on here, and you can get what's called a carrier flag on your message, where essentially they prevent additional messages going through because that number is flagged. So to avoid that, I always recommend intermixing your reactivation messages within your normal messages. So you have your customers that you're currently working in process with, drip 10 to 15 to 20 of them in a week or a day. Spread that out depending on how high volume you are and how deep your list is of past customers, so that inevitably when you have people opt out, it doesn't increase that to a high degree to show that there's a change in trend of your messages. So number 4 here is using the wrong channel to deliver your messages. If it's conversational messaging or you have a local presence in a community, you have branches in different locations, always use 10DLC. 10DLC has the highest response rates, highest open rates. It is numbers that we all know. We understand that we can respond to it. It's a big mistake people use is if they want to send conversational messaging and they're sending it via a short code or a toll-free number. A lot of people don't even know that you can actually respond to those numbers. And so they're not going to respond. So if you're trying to drive a response or you have local branch locations, go with something like a 10DLC. If you have a nationally renowned business that is in a singular location, so think of a Google or an Apple, one of these large corporations that has a centralized location, but they serve a national audience, or in these cases, global audiences, toll-free is going to be the better channel. Toll-free numbers still have good deliverability. They still have decent open rates, but they service the entire national scope. So you have a little bit more of a established brand feeling when you were using that toll-free number, and your recipients are going to see that as well. And then the final mistake that people make is not understanding the right use case to use. So we already talked about standard versus low volume for campaigns. Let's double click into it a little bit. Standard's going to be great for anyone who is sending more than around 4,000 to 6,000 messages per day. If you are, always go standard because you're going to grow. That list of people that you're communicating with is going to continue to grow. So your existing conversations are going to bleed into the next day. You're going to need more volume. You're going to need more throughput. That's when you would want to use a standard campaign. For low volume, it's going to be when you are beneath that number. So if you're sending anywhere from 1 to 2,000 to 3,000 messages per day, go low volume. You're going to save money. It's going to save you $8.50 per month on that campaign, and you're not really going to need the difference between them. Now, when it comes to the sub-use cases, so marketing, customer support, account notification, those are the big 3 that I would put on every single campaign. There's this misconception that it's more difficult to get a standard campaign, or especially a standard marketing campaign approved. It's not true. They look at all of the campaigns the same. You have to have the who, the what, the when, the where, the how, and the cost to get something approved in your message flow and in your checkbox that you have on your website. We have a ton of those videos on our channel already that walks you through that in-depth process, but in general, it's not going to be any more difficult to get your marketing campaign approved than it is to get a customer support campaign or a low volume 2FA campaign or something like that. If it was easier, more people would do it, and then they would just have what's called campaign drift, where the message is drifting between one use case to another. leads to blocks, things of that nature. And so what I would always recommend doing is either using standard or low volume, depending on your daily volume, and then marketing, customer support, and account notifications, because that is going to cover every single one of your use cases. For the most part, if you are doing 2FA with that same number, then do it. I always recommend doing 2FA though on its own separate dedicated campaign, but that is kind of, your mileage may vary. But in general, that is what I would recommend. And so these were 5 things that people often get wrong within the messaging ecosystem, or just misconceptions. And so I hope this was helpful. I hope it was something that brought you value. If it does, please reach out to us. sales@signalhouse.io. You can reach me directly at will@signalhouse.io. Check out our website, check out our YouTube channel. We try to upload videos as frequently as possible, and we will see you in the next one.